reason I got involved running for state government is I wanted to try to make a difference for the region I live in. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, except for 3 years I spent in St. Petersburg, Florida, managing a manufacturing facility, got transferred back, and I've been here ever since. And what's been interesting, and I have served in the minority as Jim and Tom has as well, and that's not an easy thing to do. We're outnumbered, very heavily New York City dominated. They have 65 legislators just from New York City. And that's, you only need 76 in the state assembly to get a bill passed. So think of the influence just on the sheer numbers. I will tell you this, though, New York City is not the enemy. New York State needs to be one New York State, which includes the southern tier, central New York, western New York, the Finger Lakes region, the Hudson Valley, the North Country, the island, and the city. We need to be in this together. We do have regional differences, there's no doubt about it. We worry about our highways and bridges, they worry about their subways, among a few other different things. So let's assume we get the bill passed, and I'll talk more about that, about the obstacles there. And we all agree in November that we're going to have a constitutional convention. Fast forward to 2011. What happens is that just like the normal election process is taking place right now, petitions get passed to run as a delegate, and then there's 3 delegates for every senatorial district, and there's 62 senatorial districts, so it's 62 times 3, plus there's 15 delegates selected at large from across the state. Now, how do you get to be a delegate? Jim alluded to this because we did change the legislation. Because before this legislation gets passed, currently a sitting state legislator, elected official, lobbyist could run as a delegate. Well, the legislation that we have put forth is that constitutionally you can't prevent someone from running as a delegate, but you can prevent them from holding 2 offices or 2 posts. And the People's Constitutional Convention is just a temporary convention. It's not permanent. It only lasts until their work is done. It could be 4 months long, 5 months long, 9 months long. But when it's done, unless it gets called again by the people down the road, and that, of course, would be a whole new set of delegates. So if a state legislator wants to run as a delegate, he can or she can, but then if he or she gets elected, he or she's got to make the choice, either now serve as a delegate or step down and give up their job as a state legislator. And once they give that job up, the only way that they can get it back is to have you vote them back in at another time in another election. Also, we've limited the influence of outside political money. And how do you do that? First of all, there's no Democrat platforms, there's no Republican platforms, there's no conservative platforms, there's no blank platforms, there's no liberal platforms, there's no independence platforms. The platform is the people. And the delegates that want to run are not running with party labels, they're not running with party committee support. If you want to run as a delegate in your county or in your Senate district, you have to go circulate a petition, get 1,000 signatures of registered voters, doesn't matter what party. 1,000 signatures plus, qualified by the Board of Elections, and you can run as a delegate. Now let's assume that we've got more than 3 people that want to run as delegates in a Senate district. What happens then? Well, let's assume you have 100 people that get 1,000 plus signatures that want to be a delegate in the Senate district. What's the Senate district number here? 53rd, right? Okay. 53rd district. Well, those 100 people would then have a runoff, like a primary. The 100 people have a runoff. Top 9 vote getters now go to a general election. And then the top 3 vote getters are the people that serve as the delegates. Okay? Qualification, you have to be a United States citizen, registered to vote, 18 years of age or older, just like you can is running as an elected official in New York State. And the petition process for the at-large delegates is much larger than that because it's a statewide. You have to circulate at least 10,000 signatures, qualified signatures, to be able to run as a delegate. So let's assume all that works. The elections are held in between September and November of 2011. The convention convenes in January of 2012. Now the first question that probably comes to your mind, well, that's January 2012. Yep, but it's still 7 years faster if we don't wait till 2017. And that's part of the initiative, what we're trying to say. This is not a new concept. It's been around since, as I mentioned, 1938, so this is not reinventing the wheel here. It's just making it better. And so now the delegates convene in January of 2012. There's actually a commission that's set up ahead of time to study some of the issues that people are talking about, and so that they can prepare and educate the delegates as to the various issues that people are looking at across the state. And then they decide, okay, what do we want to permanentize in this document? Do we want to have term limits? Because right now, there are no term limits. But if you want them, and you want to have, this is the document to put them in, or initiative or referendum, or whatever else they want to take up. Now the questions, I'm trying to anticipate some questions we had in different forums. Is there any limit to what topics they can bring up? No. But whatever they bring up, and whatever they decide that they want to bring to the voters, we all get to decide yes or no to whatever their recommendations are to change different aspects of this particular Constitution. And if we say yes, great. And if we say no, then that's the end of it, unless, again, conventions convene again either through the legislative process or in 2017. I think the key thing is that there's no limit to what can be discussed. There's no barriers to discuss spending caps, property tax caps, borrowing, backdoor borrowing, nonpartisan legislative. There's no political parties that are going to get in the way. They get to decide exactly what they want to do. And hopefully it's from the average folks that live in our state. Because we really try to make it difficult for elected officials, local, county, and state, and lobbyists to be the delegates. We want real New Yorkers to have some real input in this process. Now, what's it going to cost? Depending on how long they're going to convene the convention, is anywhere from, could be, I don't anticipate it to be any shorter than 3 months or 4 months. It could be as long as a year. If it lasts a year, the estimated costs are probably somewhere between $35, $45 million. People say, well, that's a lot of money. Absolutely. Our New York State budget last year was $132 billion. I think we could invest, with no increase in taxes, $35 to $40 million to help maybe get our state back on track. So we've really just been looking for a mechanism that would actually put pressure on the legislature to change its ways. I think that this is the only mechanism so far that I see that it has a chance to do that. Now, I've met with editorial boards all across the state, and they did the same thing. What about this? What about that? I said, okay, I understand it's not perfect. I cannot stand up and tell you that this is the absolute perfect, no-brainer. No one can find fault with it. No, can't do that. Everything has faults. But what I do say is, give me a better idea, and we'll get behind it. You give me an idea that's going to work better than this, that's nonpartisan, that actually will fundamentally change the structure or potentially change the structure of state government, let me know what that is. I'll do it. Because we've done the legislative process, and it's not working. There are other legislators in both parties, by the way. You should mention that. Bipartisan support, Democrat and Republican, both houses of the legislature, former Democrat Governor Mario Cuomo in favor, former Republican Mayor Rudy Giuliani in favor. Every single gubernatorial candidate right now that's running, that wants to be our next governor, Rick Lazio, Andrew Cuomo, Carl Palladino, all think the Constitutional Convention should be done.